Hello and welcome to the NBA Minutes to Win It podcast. I'm Big Italy 42. He is Jason Gilbo at JGilbo11. We're talking about this 5-game slate, and as it has been recently, big slate on Monday, small slate on Tuesday, and tonight, it's not the worst slate, but it's not a great slate. There's not a lot of value as of yet. It's early in the day right now, so some could certainly pop up. We've only got the 5 games, of course. We've only got one real blowout concern. Oklahoma City, 13.5-point favorites against Milwaukee. Outside of that, everything pretty close, but no other totals that are particularly enticing. Really, you've got Atlanta and Houston at 208 with a 2.5-point spread that looks good, but outside of that, nothing that really jumps off the page here.
Yeah, I'm with you there. A lot of kind of ugly games, low scoring. Miami, Memphis, not an attractive one. Detroit, New York as well. I think Atlanta and Houston's probably your best bet for offense tonight, and if Milwaukee can keep it close, I love that game as well.
Yeah, definitely. And then, looking at the injury concerns, of course, at point guard, Manuel Mudiay once again out now. Doesn't look like he or Gallinari, from what I was reading on Roto World, is going to be back. They said before January 2nd at the earliest, so at least some extra value there still if you want it. Grievous Vasquez is still out, but looks like Jared Bayless is back, of course. So 27 minutes in his last game, played well, actually. But now Michael Carter-Williams kind of takes a hit there as well because not quite so many minutes for him. But really, if you're playing your cash games tonight, I think Jeff Teague, dollar for dollar, is probably one of your best, safest plays. He's only 6,100 on FanDuel. And, facing off against a Houston team that's not a good defensive team. Obviously, he'll end up seeing some Pat Beverly. But Teague isn't scoring reliant to reach value. Obviously, you're going to need him to score some. But the guy rebounds a little bit, gets you 4, 5, 6 assists per game. And 6,100 just seems way too cheap for a guy that was, mid-7Ks earlier this year.
Yeah, I really like Teague for that mid-value play. I think comparing him to Mike Conley, you obviously want to lean towards Teague, even though Conley's been playing pretty well as well. But averaging 15, 5, and 3 over the last 6 games. Could take a little bit of a minutes hit tonight because he played 35 last night, and usually the Hawks tend to maybe knock down their starters about 5 minutes when they're coming off back-to-back, so definitely something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and like you mentioned with Conley, he's been really good recently. Tougher matchup against Miami, obviously a much better defensive team, but it's possible, we'll get to this in a minute, it's possible we don't have Dwayne Wade tonight, so that could certainly, not an individual matchup there, but certainly change the complexion of that game if they're missing Dwayne Wade there. Memphis already favored by 5, and if Wade sits, that spread could definitely jump up a little bit. Kyrie Irving also, by the way, is sitting out tonight back-to-back, so don't worry about him. But really, at point guard, it's not hard to get a couple top guys. I think Westbrook's probably the top guy that I want. I know it's a big spread, but we've seen Westbrook, 1.5 fantasy points per minute. The guy could give you borderline triple-double, 40 fantasy points in, 28, 30 minutes. So I think he's probably your safest bet. And if that game does stay close, then he should easily, I think, be the high scorer tonight.
Yeah, you're kind of looking at a repeat of the last game where they faced off against Denver and they had, a similar spread, but Denver kept it close and he went for 30, 12, and 9. So you don't want to be on the outside of a Westbrook game like that. So I think, there's real no other point guard with that floor and ceiling tonight.
Yeah, especially on a 5-game slate. If he goes for 60, you don't have him, then you can kiss your money goodbye.
Yeah, there's no McCollum.
Yeah, there's no CJ McCollum to get you 74 DraftKings points. Shooting guard options, of course, Will Barton's been playing very well. Cleveland, a good defensive team, of course, but with Danilo Gallinari, who's also ruled out for tonight, still out. Barton's been one of the most consistent players, especially at his price point recently. Going to be taking a ton of shots as he does. Not too concerned about him not getting run if the game does turn into a blowout, but with Kyrie Irving out, Cleveland not playing particularly well right now. Only 5.5-point favorites here. They're struggling against bad teams. You got to imagine this is going to be a competitive game, so Will Barton probably going to be, I would imagine, one of the most popular plays, and he should see his normal 33 to 35 minutes here.
Yeah, really like Barton as a nice mid-value play, and like you mentioned, Cleveland hasn't been good, and I think it's maybe due to the scheduling. They're on that West Coast swing right now, and it seems like they've been playing 4 games in about 6 days. They had the Christmas day against some high-paced teams, faced Portland as well, and they got thrashed. So I just think they're a little tired, and this game should stay close.
Yeah, definitely. And then Dwayne Wade, if he does play, his individual matchup against Memphis, shooting guard position, not a tough one. So, but he did fall and hurt his hip. We know this. Old men hurting their hips, falling down the stairs, slipping on
life
ice.
Alert.
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully he wore his life alert bracelet and got himself some help quick. But all jokes aside, though, I don't think he's going to play. I mean, they don't. He doesn't usually play a ton of minutes on back-to-backs anyway. Doesn't play a ton of minutes even when he does play. He's playing around 30 minutes, so he's not a guy that I'm really looking at all today.
Yeah.
James Harden, of course, you look at him. He gives you a great floor, 35 to 40 points, but we did hear a couple weeks ago, was complaining about his minutes. Now we've seen a lot of games with him around 34, 35 minutes, which you don't love. You want him to be the guy that has to carry the offense for 38, 40 minutes, and it doesn't seem like a significant difference, but when he's $100 less than Russell Westbrook on FanDuel, aside from the fact that shooting guard's a pretty weak position tonight, I just don't see ever choosing him over Westbrook in this spot.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And it's been kind of weird because you look at Harden, he hasn't been that great for the price. Just averaging, 30, high 30s, low 40s in games lately, kind of like LeBron too. So it's either going to be one of those nights where you just kind of go that next tier down across the board and get yourself that nice floor with those guys, or the superstars go off and you're screwed.
Yeah, exactly. So this is one of those slates. I mean, you need to have exposure to the right guys, but I think this is the perfect night if you're going to play cash games to mix up your studs. I would say make a couple lineups, get your Westbrook in one, maybe Durant in another, or something like that. But cheaper guys, I know you like Kent Bazemore. He's been playing well. We mentioned that game's probably the best source of value and upside. You can consider Gerald Green for cheap. He should get extra minutes. If Wade sits, he's played 30 and 33 last two games anyway. But, I mean, this is the guy that's just going to get you 15 to 20 fantasy points most night. Not much upside with him.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. I mean, I think I'd rather pay up for Barton in that range because there's not much lower. You just don't feel comfortable rostering guys like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Small forward options, of course. Kevin Durant, top option if you can afford him. Much prefer him to LeBron, even though LeBron has a good matchup against Denver. He's just... We mentioned Cleveland struggling, LeBron struggling too. I mean, as far as LeBron goes, 21 and 33 fantasy points last two games against Portland and Phoenix. I mean, two teams that peak LeBron dominates. I mean, he had a huge game against Portland the first time. So I'm not concerned about him, but he's not a guy that I'm playing in my cash games tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I just don't think, his floor has been that great to pay up for lately. And I just think that team's a little bit run down. I mean, you watch them, and it's just the high-paced games are really getting to them, and that will be another one tonight, especially in Denver.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris Middleton's a guy that I think is interesting tonight. 3 of his last 4 games, he's played really well. He's a guy that soaks up a ton of minutes. I mean, 40, 31, 37, 36 in his last 4 games. The 31 was a game against Philly that, you didn't really need him late. And he's got some big games in there. I mean, 2 40-point games in his last 4, 32 a couple games ago. So doesn't have a tremendous floor, but on a slate like this, I still think he's one of the better options at small forward, dollar per dollar.
Yeah, I would definitely really agree with you there.
Yeah. Trevor Ariza, I mean, there's so few options. We will say one good guy for cheap here is Jeff Green, because Matt Barnes is suspended for his altercation, I guess it was, at Derek Fisher's
his
house.
manhunt.
Yeah, whatever that was. He said he was disappointed. Something about this was grown men battle, and he shouldn't have called the police. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. What matters is he's not going to play. And Jeff Green is a guy that's pretty scoring dependent, but at his price tag on this slate, he does have big upside. He had that huge game against Washington 3 games ago, so he's probably going to be, I would say, as far as value plays, probably the most popular play on the board.
Yeah, especially definitely at kind of a weaker position tonight where we're not really enticed with paying up. Another guy in that price range, if you want to pay down with another one, Luol Deng, if Wade sits, should see a bit of a bump in usage, but not tremendously high. He's coming off a decent game, went 15 and 4 with 2 blocks and a steal against Brooklyn, so he's been seeing right around the 30-minute mark for another cheap small forward play.
Yeah, that's a good call there. I like that. Because, Wade, I don't, obviously no news yet, but I just don't see him playing. And, Deng is so low risk, too, at that price. So yeah. I think that's a good call. Power forward, of course, Paul Millsap going to be your popular play, especially on DraftKings where he's even cheaper. Against Houston, who is worse. The only team worse than them against power forwards is the 76ers. So that's a great spot for him, of course. Kevin Love has a stinger on his hand. I didn't know you could get stingers on your hand. He says it's not a big deal, but Kyrie sitting out anyway. So, and he's facing the Nuggets. So he's a power forward against the Nuggets who can shoot the ball and rebound, and they're missing a key player. Obviously, Kyrie wasn't playing huge minutes anyway, but plenty more usage to go around, especially if LeBron continues to struggle. So Kevin Love, you imagine, is going to be a popular play also.
I'm just trying to figure out what a stinger in your hand means. Like, I'm kind of baffled right now.
I mean, I know the shoulder and all that, but
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be, like when you hit the back of your hand on like the corner of a table and it just kind of goes numb for a minute.
Yeah, when
Maybe
the
it's
table's
that.
been really bad and you just got to backhand it. And,
Yeah, but I don't know who left a table on the floor, like on the court. So, but yeah, either way, I would like to know what that feels like. But hopefully he's all right for tonight. I would say this: if Kevin Love's not okay tonight and he doesn't play, then you do have to play LeBron James.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a serious thing, so I don't think that's really a concern. Okay, how about these mid-range guys? If you got to have one, obviously if Wade sits out, Bosch is going to be a good play. Not a great matchup, but he's played really, really well recently anyway. So Millsap, Love, Bosch, take your pick between two of the three. You can play all three, really, if you want it on DraftKings. But if you got to have someone, Fareed, Ibaka, Porzingis, who do you want?
Fareed, Ibaka, or Porzingis?
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta go Porzingis. I mean, even when he doesn't shoot the ball well, I mean, defensively, he just gives you a phenomenal floor. I mean, you look at last game where you only shot 30% from the field, but had 3 blocks and 2 steals in 28 minutes and still got over 40 DraftKings points. So I think you gotta go with him. But top power forward overall is definitely Millsap for me.
Yeah, definitely. And then as we're looking for cheap guys, there's not a ton of guys that are in great spots, but Tristan Thompson, like you mentioned earlier, obviously against Denver, is starting at center, 32 minutes. Last game, not great against Phoenix at all. It's just 16 fantasy points. But, I mean, against a Denver front court that it doesn't matter how much size they have. They obviously have more size now than they did a while back. But this team just does not defend any position well. So, I mean, you gotta give Tristan Thompson a look if you're not going to pay up at power forward. But I feel like the cash game move is still to pay up there.
Yeah, definitely. It's the strongest position on the board, and there's definitely more value elsewhere that you feel safer with. But I think Thomas is probably your best value bet as far as power forwards go.
Yeah, I'm in agreement there. Center options, of course, Andre Drummond against the Knicks, Robin Lopez and company. Really, this one, I mean, it's got a very close spread. This is the Knicks team that's literally exactly average at rebounding, have a 0 differential. So they're not a bad rebounding team. They're not a good rebounding team. They're kind of that same way on defense. And, I mean, really nobody down low aside from Porzingis who's even close to his size or athleticism. And, I mean, the time against Robin Lopez could be pretty ugly tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I think Drummond's probably one of my favorite plays on the board tonight, coming off 2 monster games. And then, of course, that quadruple overtime or 2 games before that. I mean, I just don't see anyone that can really keep him down on this Knicks team. I mean, it's pretty brutal. So expect Drummond to be your top scoring center tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there are a couple other options. We've seen Hassan Whiteside and Miami actually struggle against centers defensively. Whiteside blocks a lot of shots, but still not a guy that's a great defender. So Marc Gasol is a guy I'll play in a couple tournaments because he does have that big upside at times, and he's always low owned, especially on a short slate. You're going to have to differentiate somewhere because I don't know what Drummond's ownership's going to be, but I'm imagining 40-50% on this slate.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. And another cheaper guy like is Greg Monroe. I mean, one, he's going to get a ton of chances to just rebound the ball because of all the shots OKC is going to take from both sides. And, I mean, not a great individual matchup, but I think he's got a pretty safe, double-double floor there where he's averaging 12 and 9 over the last 5 games. So I think it's a safe option for just 6,600 on DK.
Yeah, I like that option. He's more expensive on FanDuel, but definitely that price on DK is really nice. Nikola Jokic is a guy who's been playing well, still not a big minutes guy. Over his last 5, 23, 30, 22, 26, 17. He's produced really well, though. Kind of plays his best games against the Spurs, so unfortunately he's not playing the Spurs tonight. And it isn't a great matchup for him against Cleveland, but like you mentioned, they're not playing particularly well. And the great thing about Jokic is he's getting assists and he's getting rebounds and not just scoring. So he's a guy that if I have to go cheap, I think he's really the guy I'm going to go towards.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you there. I mean, he's got pretty big upside for that price, and with the way he is playing, hopefully he gets a little bit more minutes than he did the last game. But, over the last 5 games, I mean, he has put up pretty impressive numbers.
Yeah. Anybody else you like at center before we get out of here?
I mean, Enes Kanter, I mean, he's been playing really well, 21 and 8, 14 and 13, 16 and 11 over the last 3 games, and right around 25 minutes. So if they continue to go that route, I mean, for that price, he's going to deliver a pretty solid game.
Yeah, that's a good call there. I want to make sure you got that one because I remember you mentioned him earlier. So that'll wrap things up for us for today. Find us on Twitter at DF Cafe. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out the rest of our great content at dailyfantasycafe.com.